These are the two stocks that are pretty primed right now to make a massive move. Huge breakout coming on both of these. So look at that. That is disgusting. Breakout level, so clean. Beautiful flag. Oh my God. These are about to blast off. We'll see what they do. We're watching them. We're very interested. MAR, BBIO. We'll see what happens. But these are probably my top two watches at the moment. Let's see here. BBO, please. Post that really quick. And this was kind of funny.
I've spoken about.
Are you affirming that you think President Trump is a fascist?
I've spoken about.
That's okay. You can just say
Okay.
yes.
All right.
Okay. It's easier. It's easier than explaining it. I don't mind.
What? What is even happening right now? But we have KV right now. Absolutely primed for a breakout. Trend break, pretty clean. We had the Trump news back here in September. And then we had the Kimberly-Clark acquisition, $28 billion. So happened shortly after the Trump dump. So we're looking for that pullback into the trend break, into some sort of catalyst. So we have the catalyst now. It's the Kimberly-Clark news. And the acquisition price is actually $21 a share. So that's why I have this line on. But we're looking for at least a push to $21 a share. It seems pretty likely. Of course, you never know what's going to happen. Not financial advice ever. But it seems like it would be pretty obvious that this would push into $21 a share. We're at least going to give it a try. And of course, it could do a lot more than that. We have this blueprint on in the background, sort of forecasting a push up into the 21s at least, potentially into the mid 20s to high 20s. And we'll see after that. We're not really sure what's going to happen. But we do have a couple of swings on right now. We have KView, which we just talked about, and Lulu, which has a couple of nice trend breaks on it. A bigger one back here breaking around, we're going to say 170. It's not an exact science, but we do have another one that's pretty tight, which is already broken. It's pulling back a little bit into that, which is fine, but 170 at the moment. We'll see if it pulls back more than that. And potentially we break the second trend line, which would then set us up for a push into the end of the year, maybe January. Hopefully it does something like that. The blueprint here looks pretty good. Lines up pretty nicely, but we'll see if it tracks with this. It doesn't have to. And we've seen stuff do that. It kind of has a mind of its own, but we can see something like Cracker Barrel. I actually need to turn this on. This is the one I was looking at. So let me reset that chart view. Zoom it out, and you can see that the blueprint here is saying, after tracking almost, I don't know, what would you say, 80, 90% tracking here of this blueprint in the background. And now we're diverging from this, which it can do. It's done it before right here. In January, we had a bit of divergence. Other than that, pretty tight. It's tracking pretty closely. It even mirrors right here. We have a pullback on the blueprint into this pullback here, which was deeper, but still following the similar pattern, except for recently. So Cracker Barrel is breaking this trend line. It actually hasn't broken yet, but it's trying to. and it's been on a crazy downtrend, which is really making me think when this trend line breaks, we're going to see a nice reclaim, at least back into the 50s, maybe the 60s. We'll see if we can do that. And we're watching Disney. So stuck in this channel here for a while. And ideally, we're just going to pull back down to the 90s, mid 90s, low 90s, anywhere in there would be fine. Doesn't have to go all the way back. But the risk would be probably out of this channel. So got to kind of keep that in mind. Also, Nike. We've got, again, a beautiful blueprint in the background there, tracking very nicely. And recently has diverged a little bit, but as we know, we can get some divergence and it still stays on track overall. Like back here, it had this deeper pullback, caught back up, and then it continued on its way down, perfectly bottoming out. And then now we have this pullback, which is kind of mirroring this dip right here. And then we might see some sort of trend break. Of course, none of this is financial advice. This is just like spaghetti models for hurricanes. So it really doesn't have to track. It could diverge at any moment. But we can clearly see that it's been tracking for quite a while. Since 2021 into 2026, it's been on track. So it can diverge a little bit, but it seems like it's going to hold up pretty good. Now, here's an example that doesn't track well. BMNR is going the other way. What happened with that one? Right around this area where we had the decision point, we were supposed to get a breakout, but we didn't get it, and we got the pullback. So just have to cut it into this dip somewhere because it was supposed to take off, never happened, and now it's pulling back. So potentially could be a dip buy situation. This is a crazy dip. This one tracks Ethereum pretty closely, so let's take a look at that too. Now this one's really interesting because it's right on track so far. No divergence. We get some inversion sometimes, but that's pretty much it. And it seems like Ethereum wants to pull back maybe into the $2,300 area. Potentially going to bounce, maybe get choppy. This kind of thing can happen. It doesn't have to move. The move doesn't have to happen right away, if I could speak. But this would be a beautiful pattern that would play out here. Hopefully it does, because you get this consecutive low into a new high breakout. Super impressive pattern, which kind of reminds me of Ball at the moment. So Ball, this one's tracking really nicely. Would you call this 80, 90% on track with the blueprint? The only difference really is this extra pop right here, pulled back, kind of got back on track right there. And now maybe, potentially, we have a trend break into this pattern, which is about to play out. Hopefully, fingers crossed, this is one of our swings right now. So we're buying Ball right around 48. So we got the trend break. Maybe not the best clear trend break, but it's pretty good and it's right on track with the blueprint. So this could take off pretty nicely. We'll see if it does. If it stays on track, we're going to keep adding into it. If it diverges, we're going to have a problem, but we know where to cut. So not too worried about that. Intel, Really hoping for a pullback into the high 20s. This would be a great place to get in. We'll see if it happens. Of course, not really expecting it to play out, but if it does play out, I'm ready. Here's a nice trend line. Also potential buy on the break of the trend line. Let me fix this. So we'll see what it does. Super interested in that. And Apple about to break a trend. So if this breaks, we could see a pullback into 245. And I wouldn't want to see that, but that looks like it's pretty primed to do that. So we'll keep an eye on these, and hopefully we get some of these setups. We are in a bunch of them already. We have Meta right here. So we're looking for this pullback right here. We're going to see where it bottoms out. Hopefully it's pretty soon, because we don't want to see another leg down. That'd be kind of bad. You know, pull back into the low fours is kind of gross. It could happen. It's already halfway there, but it could also just bounce here and make a higher high. So we want to see what happens with this too. No position yet on Meta, but we're keeping a close watch on it because it could be a big play coming up, depending on how the end of the year goes. Pfizer is another one that's really nice. Huge trend break right here, and it's pulling back a little bit, but you know, it's chopping around. So hard to say how far back this will come, but it could just hold here and rip, or it could pull back a little bit and then hold. Either way is fine as long as it doesn't break down too much. So Tesla, this one's kind of interesting because I have a theory that we're going to see a pullback. Let me see which one of these. Yeah, about like this. So pretty clear trend break right here on Tesla, and it's respecting this so far. We'll see if it continues to follow this pattern, but it's looking like a trend break right here coming up, and it's pulling back into the trend line. So it's probably going to bounce off the trend line and then potentially break the trend, pull back into the low 300s, and we'll see what happens from there. Potentially go back into the 200s, but it's going to take a while. It's going to have to fight to get back down there. Not super sure, but there's a lot of time left on this. Here's another one. Again, these are spaghetti models. So this one diverged. So it's looking like it's going to probably catch back up over here. Not my favorite example. This is a good one. Same exact idea, pulling back into the trend line. But this had a double top. And the blueprint had a divergence, and then it caught back up. So now it caught back up, and we're going to see potentially a bounce off the trend line. I think it's going to break the trend line. So it just seems like it's going to break the trend line maybe in February 2026. So we'll see if it does that. I took a short on it from around 448 back into 400. So that was a nice short. And I do think it's going to test the trend line and eventually break the trend line. So we're looking for a bounce off the trend line. That'll be the next play. And then a potential short on the break. Usually you get a retest of the trend line, then it rolls over. So we're going to be looking for that. Doesn't have to happen, but we'll know more as it plays out because, as you can see, it can diverge a little bit. Usually, it'll catch back up and then continue the pattern. So that's a big one to keep an eye on for me. Those are probably my favorite ones. I'm still watching Disney. So it's in a big channel. Looking for the bottom of the channel. Buy at the bottom of the channel. Sell at the top of the channel. Buy at the bottom of the channel. Sell at the top of the channel. Rinse and repeat. Oracle. This is just too much to talk about right now. But Oracle is potentially setting up for a big breakout too. So I'm hoping for something like this to happen. Again, you get the divergence. Whoops, I moved it. Right here. So it actually went up a little bit, but the blueprint said down a little bit. Then it got back up. And then it diverged again. And then it's back on track. So hopefully this part of the move isn't a divergence to the downside, which could be the case. So again, if it comes back over this trend line, I'm going to try the long. At the moment, it's a short because we don't know how far this is going to come down. It's in a pretty massive speed up at the moment. So we don't really know. This could turn on a dime. It could come right back up, do a fake out right here at the low, and then come back up and then rip. Or it's going to keep going down aggressively. So it's one or the other. I'm hoping for the long scenario because I'd rather buy it than short it. I just prefer to be long than short. But, at the moment, it's just a short until it proves otherwise. So I'm not short. And we're hoping for the long setup, so we're going to watch it. So those are my favorites. I got more, but that's enough for now. We got to stop the video. Good luck out there. Follow for more updates.